Hello, my name is Nikki, aka the Dragon Queen, and today I'm going to be doing 25 bookish facts about me. Number one, I prefer funny books over serious books. Books that make me laugh are much more enjoyable and I can get through them a lot faster because I really need to know what happens. That's probably why I like the Dresden Files so much, it's constant joking. Number two, I am obsessed with books about crazy people writing and reading. I love books that have some type of insanity trait just because it's fun and it makes it more interesting. There's less ability for me to predict what's going to happen, which is always amusing. Number three, I love young adult books, but I need to take breaks in between reading one just because most young adult books focus on romance too much and it gets really old really quickly, so I have to read like young adult, and I have to break it up. Number four, I have a book buying problem, as you can tell. I buy books a lot, and yeah, I don't know how to stop myself from buying more. Number five, if I don't like a book, I won't finish it, ever. If I'm not interested in a book, I will put it down, and I probably will not finish it, and I won't finish the series. I don't like books or series where people actually tell me, oh, after the first book it gets better. If I had no interest in the first book, I will never read the second, third, etc. Number six, I get disappointed when I don't read something fast enough, and I'll usually put it down for another day. My grandmother suggested the Foundation trilogy, and while it's a very interesting series, it takes me a very long time to read it because of the language and when it was built, or written, I mean. So I had to put it down, and I've never picked it up again, and I need to finish it because it's up on my bookshelf just waiting, because I get disappointed in myself that it takes me 3 times longer to read the book than it would to read like a young adult book. And I know it's because the language is different, and I know because the vocabulary is different, but it's discouraging to see that I've only read 30 pages versus 120 pages. Number 7. If I put a book down for another day, it may be years before I pick it up again. Cinder is a perfect example of this. I bought Cinder shortly before it released, and I did not read Scarlet until like this month in January. So it's been like a year or two, 3 years since I bought the first book and read the first book, and I read the rest of the series. Number 8, I usually read a crazy amount of books in a very short period of time. One time I was going to the library a lot, and I think I read like 12 books in 2 weeks, and then I didn't read for like 2 months after that. So I'll burn myself out, and then I won't read again for months, and then I feel really bad that I didn't read. So like last year I read 53 books, but I could have read a lot more if I didn't burn myself out. So this year, though I've taken 3 days off last week, I'm trying to portion myself out so that I only read for a couple of hours each day so I don't burn myself out, and I try to minimize it down to 2 books a week. And that sounds like a lot still, but by doing that, that means I can't read like a book a day, and then after 3 days of doing that, I like die basically and just don't want to read ever again. And that's been a common theme in my life. That being said, number 9, I have gone months without reading before. I went a couple of years when I first started college because I was in a new situation and I got a computer and I became addicted to the computer. But lately I've been reading more and I've been still addicted to the computer, but not as much. And I still will go months without reading just because I burnt myself out. Number 10, I love thriller novels. More than modern fantasy, can't talk. Mainly because of the bad guys. I love bad guys and I don't know why. And it's not even like girls love bad guys, it's just they're more interesting, they're more intense, they have darker pasts and histories, and that intrigues me and I like to know why they do that. So when I read a thriller, it focuses on the bad guy more, where when you read a modern fantasy, it focuses on the good guy trying to find out who the bad guy is. So that's why I usually read thrillers. And I've just recently started reading Stephen King, but Dean Koontz was my go-to thriller author for a really long time, even though he has like a bad rap with some people. Number 11. Sometimes I root for the bad guys in the novel, especially if they're insane. If they're insane, I kind of want them to win. Especially when like the good guy is really annoying and I can't side with them, and I'm just like, I can kind of see why. And I can see why the bad guy doesn't like you. Yeah. And sometimes if they're like serial killers, you kind of want to see how they do it and not them just being caught at the end. I don't know, that's probably bad. Number 12. I've only cracked open most of my textbooks for school, but I really never read past chapter 2 in over almost 8 years of college. I'm not in college anymore, but I would always start off really strong in the first week and just read the entire chapter. And then I realized I don't remember it, so I give up each time, and I would just open it to do the assignments and I would open it to do the quizzes, but I wouldn't actually read the entire chapter. So I wasted like thousands of dollars on on books that I didn't read. But none of it was actually novels. It was all really boring medical stuff. So number 13. Buying books makes me happy. And even if I already own a ton of books, which I do, I still want to buy more. If I'm depressed, buying books fixes it. When I'm happy, buying books keeps it going. It's a problem. Number 14, I own at least 200, probably closer to over 300 books now that I haven't read, and that's only counting paperback books, not counting ebooks. I try to read it, and then I'm like, ooh, a book, I want to buy it, and then I'll buy a new one. Kind of ties in with the last one. Number 15, this is kind of bookish. I'm writing 2 novels right now. One is in the second draft, and one is in the third attempt of the first draft. The one is it's called Porcelain Home, and it is about a set of twin sisters who use a black market adoption agency to control children and make them into living dolls. And it's this first draft I finished last year, or 2014, I mean, beginning of 2015. And the second draft I started on, but it's a lot creepier in the second draft, so I'm switching writing styles with that. I'm writing it with a really close friend of mine, which is why it's on hiatus right now, because we've both been super busy. But we're going a darker route, and we're going more towards the insanity portion of it because of things that have come up in the first draft. The second one is about a Earth Fae named Nessie who becomes deaf, and she finds a fairy demon puppy, and she has to find it a new home. And it's really entertaining, and the third time's a charm, so hopefully this time I finish it, and this time I like it. I'm 20,000 words into it right now, so hopefully soon it'll be done and I can do another draft. We'll see. Number 16. I hate books that focus on religion or war. While sometimes war and religion are important, if that's the main subject, I usually get really, really bored and I can't get through it. It blocks me. I'm agnostic and I don't really have a belief in anything, though I've mostly leaned towards Buddhism. And war is just stupid. It's usually not necessary, and in the books sometimes I think it's just thrown in there for the purpose of something to write about. So usually I avoid books like that, though sometimes if it's necessary and it makes sense, then I'll continue to read it, as long as it's not the main focus of the book. Number 17, the latest I ever stayed up to finish a book was 7 a.m. I read all night, and it was to the point where I had to close one eye and read with only the other eye, because Like one eye was just blurred completely and I couldn't read anymore, but I needed to know what happened. And I had an exam like 2 hours later, so I got like an hour and a half of sleep before I had to go for my exam. Book was good though. I don't remember what book it was. I'm pretty sure it was a Dean Koontz book though. Number 18. My favorite book currently is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, but my favorite series is The Dresden Files. While Ransom Riggs is an amazing author and I really enjoyed the Peculiar Children series, I really love The Dresden Files and it's been with me a lot longer. It's 15 books going strong. Though I love the pictures in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children because you can see the characters and the characters are very, very unique, so I really like that. I just also really like the writing style of Jim Butcher. So my favorite series is The Dresden Files, but my favorite book is the first book, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Number 19. I use bookmarks. I do not dog ear my books. That should be banned. I have in the past when I was little, before I knew better, and before I knew how much books cost. And now I'm just like, nope, I will use anything, paper, receipt, bookmark, whatever, before I dog ear. I will even just remember where I am in Goodreads and then never mark it. Number 20. I have 3 short stories published and in anthologies, 2 of which I created for my group on Facebook, The Dragon's Rocket Ship. Both are rotated around Nessie, the Fae that I mentioned earlier. The novel that I'm working on is her first novel. Number 21. I am starting a publishing company, the Dragon's Rocket Ship LLC, or Dragon's Rocket Ship Publishing LLC, and hopefully we should be starting on the 1st of February, and we're still in the process of finalizing some details, getting some contracts looked at by lawyers, but I've always wanted to do something related to books, and this is the perfect thing to do that can help other people as well as have me in there with books. And it kind of ties in with the group that I've been running for the last 2 years next month, where people who are writers and people who are artists can focus on doing that for a living. And I love being able to help other people do that, as well as get the encouragement to do that for myself. At the same time, I will be continuing my day job, so lots going on. Number 22, I can't read when the TV's on. I will zone out and TV will always win over the book. So when I am reading, if the TV's on, I won't. So the TV will have to be off. Video games are okay, mostly because I'm not interested in the video game that's being played. And when I do read, I usually listen to music. And it can't have words in music. It has to be soundtracks or classical music. Number 23. I prefer paperback books over hardcover books or audio or ebook. Though I will buy audiobooks for multitasking purposes. If I'm doing a lot of work that doesn't require me to listen, I can listen to my audiobooks at the same time, or when I'm in the car, or if I'm doing cleaning around the house. It's always helpful. Ebooks and hardcover books are usually last resort when I'm so desperate and I really need to read the book, which is why I have Winter in hardcover. Or if it's just really, really pretty, like with Library of Souls, which is the 3rd book of the Miss Peregrine series. The cover is just absolutely gorgeous, so I had to buy it. Number 24. While I buy books shortly after they're released, it takes me months to read the book. I will usually wait 6 months before I read the book, purely because I know I have to wait another 6 months to a year to read the next book. So the longer I wait I've already waited, so the longer I wait, the less I have to wait till the next book, I guess. I don't know, it doesn't make sense. I have to wait either way. But that's what I do. Number 25, and last question, yay! I've recently been really into reading more nonfiction books than I was in the past. The first nonfiction book I've read that wasn't for school was I Am Malala, which was a great book. And that got me into like a biography kick where I started reading, I read a couple of other ones. I'm reading Amy Poehler now, and I read Felicia Day. I read Felicia Day's book, which was really good. I really liked hers. And Now I'm reading, I want to get into philosophy, sociology, and psychology books. Mostly psychology and sociology because I want to learn like why people do what they do. And I think I just really want to read like a lot of science books. And I don't know why I've suddenly wanted to read science books because science has always been intriguing to me, but I've never been very good at it. I always got A's in English, but I got like C's in physics and chemistry, but I loved chemistry and physics. It was always very entertaining. I just didn't remember the math portion of it, though I was always really good at math, so it doesn't make sense. I'm sure if I studied harder, I would have done better. But those are the 25 bookish facts about me. Let me know if you have any other further questions down below, and let me know if what a fact about you about books is. Bye!